Hey everyone, how you all doing? Welcome back to another video, aka the PvP rotation guide. Yes, I'm back to the Alliance and I'm playing on Silver Moon server on EU. And quick reminder before we go any further, if you haven't seen my Discord server yet, it is out, and make sure to join the community, and you have links down below in the description or in the comments. And I will also be leveling another shaman in the horde, which I already have at 60 level on a Kazakh server, so once we build a community we can play together no matter of what fraction it is. Anyway, in today's video we will go full through the all spell rotation for PvP for both specs that I presented in my previous guide. And the last thing that I wanted to say, if you're not, please subscribe, because we are getting close to one of my goals, which is 2k subs, and it would mean a world to me, and for you it is just a 1 second free click, so please help me out. And yeah, without any further ado, let's jump into the guide. Just a quick update that I forgot to mention in the intro, and there is update regarding my previous videos. I made two mistakes there. First one is that Drake Breaker set, the World PvP one that has 8 parts, is actually not working in Arena or any rated PvP, so don't use that in Arena, just use your regular Crimson Aspirant or Crimson Gladiator gear. And for a World PvP or duels, I would still recommend using 4 pieces of that set, because that stun is a very helpful thing, and especially versus the classes that have stun, and having that extra versatility won't hurt you. And the second thing that I wanted to say is regarding the tier sets, that I've been hugely misinformed about them, and I was completely sure that they won't be coming out for PvP, but yeah, I made my mistake. I was listening to the wrong people and some wrong sources, so they will be actually coming out, as I heard, in 6 weeks from the season start, so they'll be coming out pretty soon, and these sets are pretty decent. For Stormstrike build I will use the 4 of them for sure, but for the Lava Lash I will probably use only 2 parts, but once they come out I will be making the update on them and separate videos, so yeah, stay tuned for that, and let's start with the guide. So here we are. I actually had to move away from Stormwind because there was so many people and the crowd was too distracting. And what better place to go than my hometown, the Iron Forge, where nobody is. Anyway, so I will start from the basic thing, because I've noticed there's a lot of people that are playing Enhanced Shaman for the first time. So before you jump into any fight or literally anything, always make sure to have your weapons buffed with Wind Fury and Flame Tongue. Second thing, of course, important, having to put your light shield on, and if you are using earth shield with these specific talents, of course I'm gonna be running around my talents for this guide, then you use these both. Once you did that, also one more thing, I will mainly focus about 1v1 fights here. So let's say you're starting duel first with a melee on, and you dueled him, it start ticking 3, 2, 1. You make sure you want to do first is put down your Wind Fury totem. That's the most important, and you kind of want to run away a little bit from him. That way when the duel starts you can actually apply both shocks on him, flame shock and a frost shock, and you can even start the opposite one, frost shock, just to slow him, then slowly apply the flame shock, and if that's the red paladin or some class that have dispel, they will kind of be forced to dispel that slow from them from the frost shock, or paladins will use freedom, so that's an extra point because you already wasted one of their spells. So once you start engaging him and start battling, make sure to put down the Stone Skin Totem, because that's one of the most important things versus melees, because it just makes you take 10% less physical damage, and being squishy as Enhance is, trust me, you want to do that. So you started fight, you're having your Wind Fury Totem down, you applied both shocks, you put down the Stone Skin Totem, then you can start doing damage. First thing that I like to do at every beginning of the fight is just quickly activate the Feral Spirits, because with these certain talent combinations their cooldown is actually very small and it resets quickly, so by using them a lot of people get afraid and they just quickly pop some defensives, and you actually didn't use anything of your main burst. So Feral Spirits are very good to be used at the beginning of the duel, just so you can, you know, force their cooldowns and just make them scared, and then you will have them back in like 30 to 40 seconds, or even less, like 20 to 30 seconds, and you can just quickly use them once again, and the pressure keeps going on and on every time. And with a certain proc of the feral spirits, which are RNG as they used to, you can even boost your elemental blast to a very good point, so you can even with these nerfs deal around 100k damage, but it will rarely happen, but it is still a possibility, so you can actually have a good luck there. So now that we cleared the opener, let's go once again. So the duel start. You have Wind Fury Totem down, Frost Shock, Fire Shock, popping Feral Spirits, and then you and Snowskin Totem, then Feral Spirits, and then you start brawling. First thing you want to use is a Crash Lightning, because that's your Maelstrom generator and your Stormstrike resetter. So after that, of course, you're going for a Stormstrike. So with this build specific, by doing that, you will already have the 10 stacks, so you can go quickly into the Alley Blast. And look, it did 114k. Overall, this is a PvE dummy. I just don't see any PvP dummy here in a Iron Forge, and this damage will be less in PvP because we got nerfed there, so make sure to know that. So yeah, once again, having the Wind Fury Totem down, Frost Shock, Fire Shock, you engage with him, drop down your Stoneskin Totem, Feral Spirits, then going for a Crash Lightning, Stormstrike, and by that time, as I say, you will be also taking damage, and the Lightning Shield will also generating you Maelstrom stacks, so you will have 10 stacks for sure. Then you can go immediately into the Alley Blast, and then just keep pumping as this resets, Stormstrike into Crash Lightning. Now, if your enemy is going the hard burst of you, beside having the Stoneskin Totem, then I like to use my Earth Elemental, because he just make you much more tankier. And once again, depending on who you fight, I usually love this combo where I use my Static Field Totem followed my Counter-Strike Totem, and usually I put down the Earth Bind just so the enemy gets confused and he can destroy the Counter-Strike quickly. And trust me, if they don't destroy the Counter-Strike Totem, they're going to kill themselves very insanely, and if they decide to kill it, they will be confused by having a few totems down at the same spot, so they will waste at least 4 to 5 seconds on that, which is helping you a lot. So if you had low HP, you can run away and just heal yourself. If you are good on HP, you can just keep damaging him, so that's actually a very good combination there. Now, if you get in real danger and nothing of that helps, then you pop your Astral Shift and, you know, just pray for God not to get crit for 200k or something like that and pretty much killed. So, once again, we are going to Wind Fury Totem, doing my shocks, engaging, doing Stoneskin Totem, Feral Spirits, Crash of Lightning, Stormstrike. Now, regarding of Sundering, I usually like to use them as some sort of interrupt, because it keeps the enemy for 2 seconds. So depends on who I'm fighting with. Sometimes I would say if it's versus Monk or versus Pally and I know they can cast a heal, I would save it just so I can interrupt their heal beside my Wind Share, so you have 2 interrupts there. And if I'm just fighting Warrior, then with all this burst I will just go simply into the Sundering and trying to apply as much pressure as I can. If it's just a full brawl like that, I would also use the Doom Winds at the same time as the opener start, following, you know, Feral Spirits and all that other stuff. So final rotation would be, you know, Wind Fury Totem down, applying the shocks, going for Stoneskin Totem, using my Feral Spirits, using one Crash Lightning Stormstrike, then with that 10 stacks use your Elemental Blast, and then going for the Doom Winds and, you know, just pump as much damage as you can. Sometime if you're receiving some decent damage, I would also pop the Astral Shift immediately, so you can just keep applying the pressure on him and, you know, forcing some of his cooldowns. So it's always situational, but I like to divide my burst into things that I mentioned here. So soft defensive would be using my Stoneskin Totem. Of course, having this Earth Shield on me will also heal you by the time. Going for the Totem Trickery, which you know, using the static field, Counter-Strike, Bind, and as many of them, and the third elemental. Now, if all of that doesn't help, then go into Astral Shift. And yeah, sometimes against the rogues, you must use the Astral Shift immediately, otherwise you would get one-shotted quickly. So one of my favorite things that I like to use with this spec is actually this Thunderstorm. So every time I get stunned by some class, I would just Thunderstorm him, and depends on what ground you were, you can knock him very further away, so that stun will disappear and you will take the no damage during that time. So that's I kinda see Thunderstorm as a must versus the melees. Also, we have here the Lightning Lasso, which is also very good to force their trinket, or let's say you want to force their trinket first with Hex, and then you can just go with a Lightning Lasso, and with no shields or anything, it can deal some quite good damage, and you know, just buying yourself 5 seconds to, you know, regenerate a little bit from all the stuff, and you know, overall just to distance yourself from opponents so you can, you know, heal yourself. For that also you have the Earth Grab Totem, and you know, Enhancement Shaman is just full of all the very good and useful utilities. So yeah, it's a very good for 1v1 fights. Of course, it depends versus who. If you are doing Broken Demon Hunter or Demon Warlock, you just won't be able to survive that insane pressure with all the defensives popped at the same time. So at the end of the day, we just have to pick our fights. Of course, Purge is optional, always depending on who you fight, but in most situations you always want to remove all the benefits from them, especially power infusion from the priests. Now, I've seen that mages got some buff and that you can't anymore remove the combustion with the Purge, or at least I couldn't versus the last few mages that I fought, which sucks, but yeah, it's okay, I guess. Another good combo that I like to use, so once again, depending on who you fight and what do you fight, from time to time you won't need Hex. So actually, instead of Hex, I like to go for my Capacitor Totem, which I also did talk about in guide. So very good combo there that I got is, you know, just going for the enemy, using my Lightning Lasso immediately, and if they have their trinket off cooldown, they will use it. So after that I use my Earth Grab Totem following the Cap Totem at the same spot, so they actually get stunned, and once I use the Cap Totem with the Distant Guardian Cudgel, he will actually get stunned in like 5 to 6 seconds, which is also a very good thing to buy you time to literally do anything. So yeah, that's pretty much how I play this Stormstrike build. You know, that's all the basics and, you know, stuff that you should know. And every single of one of my duels videos, I just talk there while I'm fighting, so you can actually see what I'm using there, and you know, it's pretty much the same story as it is right now, and I will keep posting those videos in future because in my opinion those are the best educational videos, the dueling with, you know, speaking what spell you do and when you do. So yeah, I am just going to swap my talents to the Lava Lash and let's see how things go there. Just quickly, I forgot to talk about going versus the range DPS as the Stormstrike spec, so pretty much talent setup changes a little bit, because we no longer need the Stone Skin Totem, Lightning Lasso, Thunderstorm, and instead of that we're actually going for full self-heal, which is taking Swirling Currents, Hidden Stream Totem, Focused Insight, Refreshing Water, Swirling Waves, just a lot of things to boost our self-heal. So rotation pretty much is the same, Wind Fury Totem, both shocks, and this time you're actually going to be chasing them and they won't be chasing you, unlike with the melees. So of course opener with the Feral Spirits, Crash of Lightning, Stormstrike, going into Elemental Blast, Dome Wind, so all of that part stays the same. But once you get in danger, you pretty much first of all have to use your Grounding Totem more frequently here, especially when they're going to burst on you, and you know, it always depends on what class you're fighting with. And since we don't need any physical damage reduction here. We are simply going to be, when we are low on HP of course, placing the healing stream totem, and you will grant the 3 stacks that says next healing surge will be 25% more effective. So you're just going to be pretty much self-healing yourself a lot. So again, depending on which range do you fight, in a lot of situation it will just become you healing yourself and trying to survive, and then when you grab the moment, apply as much damage as you can. So things that are very useful here are our talent Feral Lunge, of course Spirit Walk that removes the effect of slow and things, and just give you sprint on your wolf. Very frequently we are going to be using Earth Bite Totem, Earth Grab Totem, and of course we are going to be slowing them with a Frost Shock as much as we can, since again they are going to be just trying to run away from us, teleport, blink, blah blah blah. And of course if you are fighting Warlocks or Priest, Tremor Totem is a must. So yeah, nothing is much different except by those things that will make you survive the fight, and the attacking rotation is pretty much the same as it is versus the meal. Anyway, going to the Lava Lash. So with the Lava Lash, rotation is pretty much similar with the Stormstrike, except the focus on some spells is different and the burst is kinda different. So of course first version will be versus meals, and these are the talents that we are going for. Once again, you know, using Lightning Lasso, Thunderstorm and stuff like that. So first of all, you want to imbue your both weapons with Flame Tongue weapon, and in order to do that you just press it once, your offhand will be enchanted, then you have to swap your 2 weapons and use it again, and that way you're going to have Flame Tongue on both of your weapons, then just return them if you care about which one is in the hand or if they're different. So that's the way that you imbue your weapons. Of course after that using your both earth and the lightning shields, and here we go. So fighting the meal, of course we don't have the Wind Fury Totem here, but how we want to start is once again being a little bit away from them, starting with the Frost Shock, Fire Shock, and when we engage, just using that Stone Skin Totem. So once again we are going to use the Feral Spirits for a starting pressure, and we are going to start with the Stormstrike following the Lava Lash. Now, if you are in the scenario where you don't have anything, of course you're going to use your Ice Strike, because he's a pretty fine filler and actually a good one to generate your Mealstorm stacks. So once you have your 10 of your stacks, which at every fight you will mostly get very quickly, you're going to use your Alley Blast, and while you use Alley Blast you're actually gaining the 10 stacks of the Hailstorm weapon, which buffs your next Frost Shock. So immediately after that you're going to be using your Frost Shock, and it can crit up to 40k sometimes, normally it's around the 20 to 30k. So again, opener, going for both shocks, you know, Stone Skin Totem, just engaging, and you know, Storm Strike, Lava Lash, Ice Strike. When you have 10 stacks, use your Alley Blast. After Alley Blast you want to use your Frost Shock. Now whenever the hot hand proc, that's where your main source of damage comes, because cooldown if you're a Lava Lash becomes 2 or 3 seconds. So once you have the hot hand proc, as you can see, just like this with no procs, the Lava Lash has managed to hit up to a 64k health, which is of course a little bit less in a PvP, because once again this is PvE dummy, but in a PvP it deals around 40k. So once you have this from your weak aura, you're just gonna spam the, you know, Lava Lashes and actually make a very huge pressure on your opponent. Now once you're at this point where you just, you know, damaged a lot, you see an opportunity where you can maybe kill your opponent, the combination is next. You generate 10 stacks of Mealstorm, use your Elemental Blast, now immediately after that using your Primordial Wave and going for the Lightning Bolt. And after that spend your 10 stacks of the Hailstorm on your Frost Shock, and pretty much your opponent should be dead if they didn't pop any defensive, or if they just got saved by their partner in arena or whatsoever. So anyway, that's one of the most important killer, and there is the combo from the 10 stacks of Alley Blast, then Primordial Wave, straight into the Lightning Bolt and straight into the Frost Shock, and that is the main one that actually has the cooldown of 45 seconds because of Primordial Wave, and the other one is just simply wait for your procs on your Lava Lash, and whenever the hot hand proc, just go spam it every time you have cooldown. So since it's 3-second cooldown, just lose your Lava Lash, use your Stormstrike, then back to Lava Lash, then back to Sundering and stuff like that. Once you have 10 stacks of Maelstrom weapon, you're going to be using your Alley Blast. Once you use your Alley Blast, you have the boosted damage on your Frost Shock. So pretty much that's how the damage dealing works on this Elementalist build. And the defensive part is pretty much the same, so I don't really need to talk about that. And regarding of fighting casters, I'm just going to change the talents real quick. The story is once again pretty much the same, you know, applying your shocks. Well, it's literally the same except by the defensive part, in which you're going to heal yourself instead of popping so much physical damage reduction things. So yeah, that's pretty much how I rotate, and trust me, in arenas and solo shuffles and even in duels, I've been managing to get some very big crits where people at the end of the day would call me a broken class and saying that we need more nerf, and trust me, we can't get more nerfed than we are right now, which is just sad truth. So yeah, at the end, both of these specs, Stormstrike and Lava Lash, are doing very decent right now. So if Blizzard decide to at least buff our defensives a little bit, or for example merge these two talents into one, we would actually have some higher survivability and, you know, chance to actually do something. So yeah, if you have any questions, of course, make sure to put them down below. And yeah, that will do for this video. Thank you all for watching, and see you in the next one.